For the temporal bone, there are several structures that are visible from the outside lateral surface of the skull. The first structure is the external auditory meatus, which is literally just a tunnel of bone to channel sound waves into the inner ear. The next structure is the mastoid process. This structure is easy to palpate behind your ear. It looks very solid and massive, although it is hollow on the interior. The next structure is the sharp looking pointy styloid process. And the last lateral outer structure of the temporal that you need to know is the zygomatic process, which is the latter 2/3 of the arch of the cheek. So remember, the rule for naming a structure that attaches to another bone is to name it for the bone that it attaches to. The next three structures are visible from both the inferior and superior surfaces of the skull. I always start with the inferior ones because you can see most of them, but they are between the mastoid and styloid process, the stylomastoid foramen. It's a small hole that doesn't go through. The next foramen is the jugular foramen. This one is medial from the styloid process. So this foramen is somewhat large and has a very jagged edge. The next foramen, which is slightly medial and anterior from the jugular, is the carotid canal. This goes at a little bit of an angle in through the skull, and you have to watch out because on some of our artificial skulls this channel does not go through, although it should. That's just an artifact. The carotid canal needs to carry all the arterial blood supply to the skull, so it's just an artifact of artificial bones. The next structure is a smooth, shallow depression, the mandibular fossa, that's going to articulate with the mandibular condyles of the mandible. The structure that you can't see from the inferior surface is the internal auditory meatus, which is only visible from the superior aspect of the skull. Just a small hole. It is on the posterior part of the inner temporal bone, this large, massive chunk of bone, and this also does not go through.